Hi everyone, this is Kelly and I am super excited to be here to show you a deck. I have been sent this for the purposes of review by the very lovely Lisa Papaz. I feel like if you are somebody who watches my channel, you probably already know about Miss Lisa. But she has a YouTube channel as well. I will put a link to it below. My guess is she probably has a walkthrough as well. I don't know. I'll put any of the links down there. This deck is, at the time of casting, at the time of recording, this deck is under Kickstarter. I believe there's about 2 weeks, maybe just under 2 weeks left on the Kickstarter to go. And so I will put a link to the Kickstarter below as well. Also, I wanted to make note that this is a sample copy. It is not the final. This is Make Playing Cards, I believe 310 GSM. I think the final is like 330 GSM with like black core. Go to the Kickstarter, it will give all of the information about the final. So obviously when you get a review copy that is like pre-release, there can be changes to the coloration as they kind of tweak that in the final printings and with the final. So there can be some tweakings that happen. Generally speaking, I would say always speaking, it's to improve it. So it's only going to get better from what you see in a pre-release sample deck. It's different than a review deck that's come out already, because it is a sample deck, and so there can be, I realize, this was not dark enough. I love that. Was maybe not dark enough, and I want to tweak the shadows. They just kind of come to find some things that they want to fix. So that's the important thing. And obviously, I don't have a box. There's a box information. All of that. Go and take a look at the Kickstarter. Link is below. I'm really here just to look at the cards with you. And so that's what I do best anyways, and that's what we're going to do. The name of this deck, obviously you see on the title, but this is the Unicorn's Journey Tarot. That Journey Tarot is an important part and something that excites me. The deck is by Lisa Papaz and illustrated by Francesca Paocchi, Paioccchi, is the illustrator who did the illustrations and the art. Now, I want to say, I'm not a big unicorn person. It's not that I have anything against unicorn. It's kind of similar to how I feel about dragons, right? I love dragons, and I think that unicorns are extremely powerful creatures, right? And so I don't often, lean towards unicorn decks because of their sweetness. However, I've learned some lessons, right, along the way from, what are some good lessons I've learned? I've learned the lesson from the, I'm picturing the deck right now, the, it's not Oak, Ash, and Thorn, but it's the Ember one, that's the dragons. I really thought that was going to be too sweet because they're just sweet and pretty looking. I thought, it's not going to have the umph of a dragon deck. It does. Or the one I recently reviewed, which is the Heartwood Tarot by the same creators, right? Very sweet. You're following the journey of a mouse. Super sweet. Not a sweet reader, like a really powerful reader holds really powerful space. So I have definitely learned my lesson that you gotta go beneath the surface, and this one interests me because it does something that I really love, which is it follows a journey and it is a story. So I am not going to, I have read through there, I have a sample of the guidebook, and the guidebook it's a PDF of it. the guidebook where Lisa has written a story, right? So each card follows a story through the majors, follows a story through the numbers. I know the quartz are kind of a little bit something that is different there, but it is a journey deck that is taking you through a journey of self-discovery, of believing in oneself, those types of things, types of energy, which can be so powerful. What I find about these types of decks is that they allow for, when you lay the cards out even randomly, because they're built with storytelling in mind, they read really well together because they're meant to do that, and so it's easy to flow into story with them. And it's something I have found to really love about decks. I would say similar would be like the Enchanted Forest, which is such a good deck for storytelling style readings. And not all decks, sometimes decks feels like the cards stand very much on their own, which is okay. They should stand on their own, but almost like they're compartmentalized, whereas a deck that's created in the flow of story often can read, it's easier for people to pick up and read and have that flow. Again, I'm not going to give away any of the story. I'm going to try not to. Obviously, you're going to see some of the story unfold on the cards, but I'm going to not try to touch on any of this unless I just accidentally do by talking about the image, but I'm not going to read from any of the story parts. But I do have the I want to read the message to the reader. Thank you for adopting a copy of the Unicorn's Journey Tarot. Creating this deck has been a dream come true, and I'm so honored and touched that it's out in the world and in your hands. Unicorns have walked with me throughout my life as friends, allies, and guides. Their magic lit the way when I was lost in the dark. They taught me about hope and peace and the beauty of moving through the world in an authentic way. Unicorns are often reduced to symbols of childhood innocence, yes, but they are so much more than that. They are powerful archetypes of self-worth and authenticity. I've never encountered a unicorn that tried to be anything other than what it was, and yet as humans, we often change who we are to fit in or be accepted. I wondered what kind of story I could tell if I told one about a unicorn that, like me, wanted only to know who they were and how to move through the world exactly as that. This is how Little Mystic, the main character, I lost it. That is how Little Mystic, the main character of this deck, and their story came to be. You will find in these cards little nods to the stories that saw me through some of the most difficult times in my life, not only unicorn. Stories like The Last Unicorn, of course, please, if you haven't read it, please read it, by Peter S. Beagle, Morgan and Me by Stephen Cosgrove, but also The Velveteen Rabbit, yes, by Marjorie Williams, and The Ugly Duckling by Hans Christian Andersen. Mystic's story is one of self-discovery, self-belief, and self-love. It's about trying to fit in and then realizing you don't have to. It's about finding out what makes you happy and pursuing it with wild abandon. It's about personal fulfillment and the incredible power of found family. Most of all, it's about carving out a path in life that's uniquely yours and learning to cherish every step along the ways. If I've accomplished my goals for this deck, then Mystic Story will bring tarot to life for you, introduce or reawaken you to the magic of unicorns, and maybe, just maybe, show that you are as powerful and worthy exactly as you are. The characters in this story have been living full time in my heart and soul. I know how that feels. It would be a dream come true if they could have a space in yours as well. It is my dearest wish this deck will meet you where you are, bring you comfort and guidance, and help you shine even brighter than you already do. Enjoy the journey. Warmest blessings always, Lisa Pappas. And that is why I would most definitely look at any deck that she put out, because again, that that kindness and sweetness and encouragement shines through. And then we have a quote from The Last Unicorn. Oh, not even going to go there. Go watch it. She's got some poems in there as well. And then the last bit I want to talk about, and I promise we'll get to the cards, is the about the deck. So it is a narrative style tarot deck is what she calls it. 100% love this about it. It tells the story of Mystic. It is a RWS structure and is closely aligned with RWS interpretations. So if you are an RWS reader, it will make it easy. Even though it is narrative driven, it has that you should be able to touch into. We'll look at that as we go along and watch for those RWS touch-ins. Obviously, she knows me well. I'll be peeking at some to see if it works a little bit for those of us who are not RWS straight readers. But that can be very helpful in a narrative-driven deck, that there is some sort of a known structure, because that helps you when you're getting the cards individually to tap into the main message and then fall into the story, not forgetting to fall into the story. Major arcana, big life themes; major events, turning points; minor arcana, everyday realities of life. And she has used the elemental associations, so fire and water and air and earth is what she has used. The court cards follow the traditional page, knight, queen, and king, but they are also characters in the story. You will meet them in the numbered cards of their suits as well as on their own cards. So she's hoping, and so that's something we'll watch for too. She's hoping that then there are a lot, this is a question that comes up a lot in teaching tarot, right? Like, what do we do with the court cards? So she's hoping that if we see the courts in the suit themselves showing up in the story, that it might help also to make them more relatable. So that'd be one of the goals that she has. So every card entry gives you a portion of the story, which I am not going to read because I'll read the full one, just so there's one card read, because that's just the beginning of the story. But again, while you may see, obviously, the story go out in the cards, I really don't want to give it away. She does, in the guidebook, recommend that you read, and I understand this, Nellie's deck is like this. You really should read the guidebook first, versus, like, plucking pieces out, because you might, like, spoil the story for you. So when decks are story driven, it is good to read it first. So she does recommend that you read the story portion of the card entries, going from the major arcana through the ace through 10 of fire, water, air, and earth, the order that these are in, whereas the court cards kind of take up story in the numbers themselves. So it says that there are 2 bonus cards. We'll see what those are in a minute. So, and then it starts with, from Morgan and Me, from Stephen Cosgrove's, do you ever lie on your back and gaze at the sky, wishing you were something other than you are? So again, I'm not going to read give all these things away, but I am just going to read quickly the full. Let me zoom in, because I guess we really don't need to look too much at cardstock. I actually love this cardstock, which is Make Playing Cards Linen. I think it's the 310 cardstock, but this is not the final cardstock of the deck. So again, go to Kickstarter to get that kind of information on what it's finalized as. But let's just see what one of the entries would be and the beginning of the story. And again, after that, I'm not going to read any of them so that I don't spoil anything. So at Zero Fool, once upon a time, a unicorn named Mystic was born without a horn in the middle of a vast forest. Mystic didn't know that they were a unicorn. All they knew was that they were very little and the world was very big. As they examined their reflection in a nearby pond, a ladybug called out to them, "You aren't going to find who you are standing here. If you want to know, you must go on a quest. Go and be brave." And so Mystic's journey began. In the RWS Fool, you see a carefree person walking right towards the edge of a cliff without a care in the world. Here, the wobbly legs of a newborn unicorn become an excellent analogy for the shaky ground beneath the fool, a card that represents taking risks, being open to new experiences, and having trust that everything will be okay somehow. Instead of a dog, a ladybug serves as mystic's guide, symbolic of luck, rebirth, protection, and innocence. So I'm going to go to the rest of this, but I want to just touch in. What I like to see is that she gives you this, so you have a story portion, and then you have the kind of basic understanding of what would the RWS key things are and how we can see those here, so that somebody who is really comfortable and or uses RWS can say, okay, I don't see a cliff here, but I do have a young unicorn with wobbly legs. Instead of a dog, I have the ladybug, and also why, because of it being a symbol of luck, rebirth, protection, and innocence. So we have all of those, and I will say the artwork for from the illustrator is absolutely gorgeous. Like, I don't know if you can see, look at the water. Like, that is so beautiful. Really, really beautiful artwork. So you get those two portions. Then you get an upright with some keywords: spontaneity, risk, carefree, leap of faith, beginnings. Have faith, trust the process, and step out on the ledge. Don't worry about what anyone else might think of you for doing the thing. Do it anyway. The universe has your back if you'll let it. All you need to do is take the first step. Reversed, then, you get keywords of naivete, foolishness, immaturity, poor judgment, precariousness, and then another section: hold fast, hold up, not so fast. This might not be the best time to take unnecessary risks. Give those plans a pause until you can determine whether you're ready to take a chance right now. To get back on track, step back from the ledge, ask yourselves what you need to do to mitigate unnecessary risks before you move forward. And then there's a self-worth message. You may feel raw and new. Remember that everyone begins somewhere. You may not have your feet under you yet, but that will come in time. Trust the process. So that's what we get. Let me scroll down to a minor. Just oh my goodness, she's got realms here. I love this. Well, I'm sorry, I'm scrolling through here down to the. I read through the major stories, but I did not go down to the minor. And she's got a map, and she's got realms, fire realms. If you watch my AI, you'll see why that's video. You'll see why that's so exciting. Love it, love it, love it. Okay, but I'm trying to get down to. So it looks like you get the same thing in the minors. I'm going to try to get to not an ace. Yeah. So you get the story piece. You get sort of how you would see this in the RWS. You get an upright. You get a reversed. You get a self-worth message. So all the way through, you get the same amount of information per card. So does she have the same? I want to just peek. At her directions. Not everybody follows the same directions. So let me go back up here to where this is. Sorry folks, I know you're staring at one card the whole time. She has South Fire, so she doesn't do seasons to them. Okay, so she doesn't do seasons. Yeah, hers are different than mine. So she has, to the south is the fire realm, to the west is the water realm, to the east is the air realm, and to the north is the earth realm. My directions are associated with seasons, but then also the elements, so they're different. But again, that shouldn't. It's something you can tap into if you follow those same directions. And a lot of people don't even use directions, so that really shouldn't, because that's not on the card. It's just the elements, so that shouldn't make any difference there. So I was sidetracked by that because I love it. I love directions. I use it in a lot of things, so I like to see that she leaned into the directions. Okay, so there we go. I'm going to stop here because, again, I'm not going to read I almost shuffled this. I almost shuffled this. I'm not going to read any more of the story. So let's follow along in the images and then peek at the RWS, as she is definitely, one of her goals is to make sure that you can see that. Again, artwork is gorgeous for the Fool. So here we have I actually really like the Sleeping Unicorn. Again, I know this has to do with the story itself, because I did read the Majors part of the story, but I really like that she is, or they are sleeping, as we don't know, that they are sleeping, but we do still have all of those elements present, and so it's with their mind and with their dreams and with their hopes that they're manifesting these things. I actually quite like that with a magician, because it's not about physical prowess, right? It's using their inner power and their mental power and all of those things to manifest outward. So I actually quite like a sleeping magician. I don't know that I've ever seen a straight up sleeping magician, and I like it. Here we have the High Priestess, absolutely gorgeous. Again, you see the two trees instead of the two pillars. So you can definitely, in even the moon on the forehead, you get those nods into things that people might want to tap into if they're RWS readers, pomegranates, those types of things. For the High Priestess, you have there to touch into. Here you have the Empress. Look at the deer in the background. You've got the apples with the abundance. You've got the nurturing deer there. You even have the Venus and the heart. So again, very tapping into some of those symbologies that people might look to read, but truthfully, it's not anything for those that aren't RWS readers. You can see them and see the nod to them, but it's nothing. It's nothing that invades the card strongly. Absolutely love this Emperor. Look at what's on the stone. Look at the ram on the stone. And her meeting the Emperor. So again, I love the tree. Look at his artwork. I said his, but I could be wrong about that, so please ignore. I think I saw Paolo, but no, Francesca, so it's probably a she. I love her, whoever, it doesn't matter. I love the artwork of the artist in that tree. The art is beautiful. Very storybook. But very vivid color too. It's not like a more pastel-y light. It's beautifully and vivid, but very storybook. That is really gorgeous. I love that Emperor. And I love the Hierophant going into the cave. I associate High Priestesses entering into like watery caves, but look at that, how we've got the cave drawings on. So learning from the past. That's absolutely brilliant. Love it. Love it, love it, love it. Here we have the choice card for 6. What direction am I going to go in? Again, really like that. I'm not, for me, the Lover's card is the choice card. And so for me, that is perfection. It's not really about love or anything like that. It's about the choices that we make, the road less taken. If we go, like we may go back and explore this area, but it's never going to be the exact same if we had taken that way first. And so it's an important decision that we're making. So I love that. Here we have the Chariot with her the being ridden by the young girl. It looks like being ridden by the girl in a kind of a farm area. So now we can kind of see, right, that she went this direction. I like the tie-in from card to card, right? She could go in this direction, and now she went in this direction, so now we can see her having moved into that direction. Again, movement. I like movement in a Chariot. Beautiful strength cards. Like, is this the little girl here? Again, please don't take anything I'm saying from henceforward as anything to do with the story. This is more just if I'm looking and using these cards by itself, away from the story, can I get at the meanings of the cards is important to me. So that's all I'm talking about. I'm not. If I accidentally give away something about the story, it is not on purpose. But, you know, we have this sort of movement here and growing confidence here. And then it seems like we have the girl who's now more grown up here. The horse seems more grown up. They have this, you know, united front together that makes them stronger. That's really beautiful. And just in the image, if we have no other story there. Here we have the hermit stepping back, taking a break. We still have the lantern that we're used to seeing. We're really processing and gaining wisdom, having that time to be able to process. Here we have the Wheel of Fortune. Things are changing now. The girl maybe is going off to school. And so there are changes that are going to be occurring, and maybe versus gotten there during the summertime when they could play all day long, and now that's not necessarily the case. Here we have the Justice. We can see the scales here, very muddy, and now it's gonna have to get a bath. We're gonna have to clear some of that off. I like her posture as well, feels very Justice-y. Here we have the Hanged One with an opossum here as well, but trying to get fresh perspective, trying to learn new things, come at things from different ways as the girl is learning. But the unicorn's interesting that the unicorn is looking outside of the window. That's kind of a shadow perspective, right? Instead of being out in the wild, out in the field, they have this new perspective of just seeing the world through this little box, whereas her mind is opening up. So it's kind of interesting. You can get at the Hanged Man's from light and shadow in this card that I think is really pretty. Now here we have the Death. Like, this is a big change. Like, now maybe they're going off to college, or, you know, going away, and life is really starting to change here. A major shift, a major cycle shifting that occurs. Here we have the Temperance. I actually really love the stream going through here, through the solid ground. You sort of have the solidity of ground and the moving of water, which is really beautiful. Here we have the Devil card, and look at it, they're tied up on, again, you're going to get a story to this. I just really don't want to ruin the story, because I think that's something you should experience as you're reading the guidebook the first time. But just think about this as the Devil. We have this beautiful horse that should, unicorn, that should be free and running and is tied up to a stake. There's disrepair on the fence. It's no longer being taken care of, just being set out. So you can really see that of somebody's really abdicated responsibility here, and they definitely have given away just by coming to this farm versus going the other way. They kind of gave away some of their autonomy, and we're seeing now good times, but now it's kind of showing the full consequence of that choice from the very beginning. Interesting. Here we have the Tower. I feel like this is a great tower. We've got the barn on fire. What I think is interesting about this, right? So if we think about, and again, not talking at all about the story, but if you think about the Devil card here, and sort of things really going downhill and this no longer being a great circumstance, the burning of the fire of the barn, while obviously very traumatic and life-changing, also kind of forces a rebuild, like a reset. We'll talk a lot about that with the Tower card. So I quite love that as a Tower card that follows this kind of a Devil card. Beautiful Star card. Beautiful. You obviously want her to get the reins off. I do. I'm like, get those. Can you find a way to get those reins off your face? But this is absolutely gorgeous. Really beautiful. I love that the reflection is of themselves in the water. She'll find her way. Here we have the Moon card. We've got the wolf, and we have a fox here. Maybe they're going to help her get the reins off of her. Again, really beautiful. It's kind of creepy. It's half light, but it doesn't mean there's anything horrible out in those woods. It's just half light, and you've got to be careful. She really shines brightly, and just looks like physically stronger. You can definitely get the sense of a more of a full grown unicorn, right, than where we started. And now, you know, the star and the moon are really about finding your own path and your own healing, versus that wobbly beginnings where you're trusting the world. You're really trusting, you're starting to have to trust yourself and do the healing that you need to do to become that self-sufficient person. So I quite like that she looks, or they look, so much stronger. Here we have the Sun card. We have this joy and this happiness and this fulfillment of knowing who you are and trusting yourself, and apparently meeting a unicorn here. Again, not going to spoil the story. Here we have Judgment. I think we can see here. But she's got her horn now, right? She really has to do that assessing before she steps. And I like the stepping, getting ready to step into this new space with the Judgment. And look at the World card. Absolutely beautiful. All is right with the world. All is right with her. This first part of the journey, at least, right, has really brought her full circle from, again, the small unicorn without the horn. It's really beautiful. Again, I love the artist work in this deck. Is really gorgeous. So then again, the aces through the tens. Remember, the court cards aren't sequential to the story. They're in with the story of the numbers, are furthering the story. Now we have her with her unicorn horn. We have we have our flame here, right? So we can really see that imagery of the one. We have the 2, which is often planning. We have a map there. We have the 3. I actually quite like this one because Rider-Waite-Smith is more of a like waiting for your ships to come, which I'm not a big fan of. But this one feels like they're actively engaging also, even though they could just be standing there. But for me, that works because it feels like an active card, because number 3 is growth for me. And so it does feel like an active engagement, even though they may be standing there. So I'm not saying the story is active engagement, so don't shoot me if I'm wrong there. Here we have the 4 of fire. Again, you've got the 4, touch-ins. You've got the 3 touch-ins, the celebration meal. I don't think if you work with Rider-Waite-Smith, I don't think you're going to have any problem just picking up and reading it as the things that important parts there that you need to know. We have the competition of the 5. I love that she's gotten magic, right? She's learning how to use her magic. For me, fire is manifestation of our inner power, and she's learning to do that. And so now we have this competition that the 5 of Wands is often showing. So we've got this competition going on. We have the 6. It's like, okay, she won the competition. Everybody recognizes what she's achieved here with the 6 that we often see. The 7, she is standing her ground against, the mob here. I love that her shield has now come full circle, and we've got new growth. For me, 7s are new growth. And so just watching her utilize her magic from card to card shows that now we've got this new growth, and it's completely surrounding her and the baby dragons here. So she's protecting what's important, both herself and what is important for her to protect. We have the 8 of fire, master. For me, this, I know in Rider-Waite-Smith it's swift movement, but it's all, for me, it's about mastery. And we've got all like these dragons and this unicorn that are, confidently moving forward to face the enemies here. We have the 9, again, standing her, what is going on up here? Okay, come on. Oh, we've got like the fire. Again, I'm not going to try not to give away the story, so I'm not going to peek and look. But there's like a fiery unicorn that's up there with the dragons. But she's, again, probably tired, probably wore out. but is standing the ground with the 9. Again, typical what you'd see in the 9 of Wands. We have the 10 of Fire. The weight of all of this is here. Look at the combination that's going on here. This kind of full circle. Now they're working together. We've got the red and we've got the white holding against, but it's a heavy burden as well. And then again, the quartz we saw already in the within the story of the numbers, but we're going to meet them more individually. And if you've read the story through there, then hopefully by the time you come here, you've kind of got an idea of who they are. Maybe a little bit more. That seems to be Lisa's intention there. So that is the suit of fire. And then we go to water. And again, in terms of reading it, you want to read it in order. The order that she has it here is the order of the story. So that's important. So here we have the Ace of Water. We have the coming together here of the water unicorn and the white. I like the white as just kind of neutral color there. We've got mermaids out here. The 2 of Water. We have the 3 of Water. Everybody's coming together. Kind of, you see that in the Rider-Waite-Smith. There's growth of their connections, interconnections, moving out and connecting to other people. We have the 4. I like this because she doesn't look bored. They don't look bored, right? To me, they don't look bored. I don't love that about Rider-Waite-Smith, and so for me, it's just calm watching everybody in the water playing and things, but there's just kind of this calmness, which is for me what the 4, stability of the emotions and the inner landscape. We have the 5 here. This is interesting, right? 5 is a shake-up number. I think you in some ways almost need this. This is the first one I would say you might need the story to know, okay, what's going on here. They don't look to me like they're fighting. Oops, sorry. Yeah, they don't look to me like they're fighting, but maybe getting ready to leave is what I'm kind of seeing, that this one's having to go, Mystic is having to go off, and maybe there's a shakeup in that way emotionally, but we certainly don't see the more conflict that we often see. Again, I don't want to give you the reasonings for that by looking in the guidebook because it would ruin the story. Here we have the 6 of Water, the nostalgia factor that we often see in the Rider-Waite-Smith. We have the 7 of Water. This is an interesting one, right? Instead of cups, we have all these I love these mer people. All of these mer people holding the different options here. And the key is that they don't get off track by those, which we then see Mystic moving away from that with the 8. Again, really love, and this is one of the benefits of narrative driven minors, especially because you literally can see, okay, we've got all these choices, but this is going to distract me. I need to stay focused. And the 8 of Water is often about going off onto a new journey, but we can literally see the correlation of the card before it and or the card after it, and that's one of the benefits of narrative-driven tarot decks. I think are just beautiful. You can just see this pure story here, but it also helps with seeing the meaning of the card. Here we have the 9, the wish card here, that kind of everything that you need or gaining what it is that you need is a high dynamic of personal power. There's a contentment that's here. And then the 10 of Water, I think we can certainly see that found family that she talks about in the intro with all the different creatures that are here and coming together again. Typical of their RWS, but this is much more of a family that we have gathered around ourselves versus a, sort of a central family unit, if that makes sense. And then again, we have the creatures that we have already seen in the page, the knight, The Queen's gorgeous, and the King really quite beautiful. That is really beautiful. Love that. Yeah, those are quite beautiful. So then we come to the Ace of Air. Oh, look at, can we see what's peeking over here? Whoops. Pegasus. Makes sense. Here we have the Two of Air. She has a path and she stopped, and she's got to just, break free from that, bring her head and her heart together so that she can keep moving forward. Here we have the Three of Air. Okay, this is doable for me. You have sort of the understanding of sadness because of the rain. The bunnies look sad here again, without looking at the story. You get the sense of the weightiness. You have the image of the Three of Swords from RWS here. But I can definitely, as someone who doesn't read RWS, I can definitely read with this, because she is the unicorn is mystic, is continuing to move on their path, has learned lessons, has had difficult times, but is still moving forward and continuing to move forward on the path. So I can definitely deal with that. Here we have the Four of Air stepping back. Here we have the Five of Air, a little more embattled here with the Knight. This is an interesting Knight. Oh yeah, it's in full armor. Definitely RWS, right? There's a shake-up, but look. Very gorgeous. Definitely a shake-up, definitely at what cost? A little bit of nature versus man kind of energy here. And then this kind of breaking through there. Again, I'm sure that goes with the story, but you can certainly see a shake-up in the order of things. We have the Six of Air. The movement of the bunnies is adorable, and the foxes, so they are both helping to free them, while one is, I think, down there. Oops, come on in. Oh, maybe he's going to grab this other animal that's surrounded here with the Six of Air. But definitely a movement, trying to move the creatures away from the battle itself. Here we have the Seven of Air. Now we see that there's a trap's been set. There's information. This is a tricky one, right? You need to gather more information before you walk right into that trap. We've got that sneaky Knight there, up to no good. So I like that. I can read that as I guess they're taking this as stealing the, RWS of stealing like the acorns here. But should have stopped before coming to this point to really get more information, because the Seven of Swords for me is about getting more information, go deeper, go beneath the surface to figure out what's happening. We have that kind of traditional Eight of Air amongst it looks like this is cool because it kind of looks like some of those old tapestries that you see with unicorns. And it is bound, but loosely bound and blindfolded. But as with any Eight of Swords, there is a way out of this. They are not so trapped that they can't get out of this. But I love the nod, and maybe I'm just reading into it, but it does kind of have a nod to the unicorns laying in the field of flowers that you kind of see in old tapestries and things. Here we have the Nine of Air. We have that feeling of nightmare and of overwhelm. Again, I can deal with it. RWS, for me, 9 is really dynamic, and it can be overwhelming, but it doesn't have to be a nightmare. We can actually utilize the energy. But for the most part, 9s I can manage. Let's see what she does with the 10. So here we have a 10. It almost looks like the wolf here has been, injured by all of those stab wounds and is being healed. So I love that. We definitely have the sense of the stabbing and that we normally see in the RWS 10, but we have Mystic as actually healing. She's gained, or they've gained, the knowledge that they need to have the ability to heal. So that works for me quite well. And then again, we see the different Pegasus that we have already seen within the 10s that came to the aid. For a minute, because again, I wasn't going to go read the story because I don't want to give it away, but for a minute in the 10, or in the air suit, I thought maybe Mystic had sprouted wings, but she just met some Pegasus. That's why you should read the story first. But again, I don't want to ruin it. Okay. Here we have the Ace of Earth. I really like this outside of the cave Ace of Earth. So now she's like going into the caverns with some ponies and some gnomes into the caverns. Here we have the 2, and she's lighting the way. The 2 of Earth. We have the 3 of Earth that's growing. Look at, she's helping them. We have the 4 of Earth holding your resources. Again, I like this. This doesn't look greedy. This is storing your wealth up. For me, 4 is not about greediness. It's about now is not the time to be spending your resources. Again, you can see the lock here and say, okay, why are you hoarding all of these jewels? So if you're RWS, this works. But this works for me too. I love the kind of, well, for me, it's a little bit of a nod to a hobbit hole. I love it. We have the 5 of Earth outside of where they could be inside. Just step inside there. We have the 6 of Earth. What is she doing? She's doing something with that crystal, that is for sure. Sharing, they're both sharing. For me, this would be like Mystic is sharing the magic and they're sharing the jewels. So there's that exchange of energy that I like to see in the 6 of Earth. Here we have the 7 of Earth. Again, you can see there are 4, 5, 6, 7. Cute little gnome there. Here we have the 8 of Earth. Now they're working together to master. Well, they were learning together in the 3 and the 8. The Mystic has been able to master that skill, learning a skill set. Here we have the 9. Again, high dynamic energy to utilize. Here we have the 10 and that completion and that legacy. I love the idea of the constellation and things going ever onward is quite beautiful. And then again, we have the, oh, I see there's the extra cards. We'll come there in a second. We have the different, more like cute little pony unicorns are absolutely adorable. There. In the Earth. And then there are 2 extra cards, Light and Shadow. Oops, sorry. And there is information about this in the book. Again, I don't want to give away anything to do with the story, but, so I'm not going to go check, but I like a Light and Shadow card. So that's something that you could leave in, or you could just pull out as extra art cards. So there is all. I'm going to leave those out when I shuffle them up, though. Let's zoom out. I think from what I can see of her intentions, I feel like there's a couple cards. I think if you're RWS reader, you definitely have to think about it for a minute. Just because obviously the narrative is strong, and so and again, I'm not going to comment. This is great shuffling cardstock. It's good playing cardstock. This is gonna, the real one, or the final cardstock will be a little thicker, but she did note in the email that it would be still very shuffleable. It's still linen, black core, cardstock, so it should still be, you know, a good shuffle there, which I'm appreciative of as a riffle shuffler. Again, nobody's required to give me a good shuffle, but I can always appreciate it. But don't take this shuffling to do. I'm just trying to get a good shuffle, as it's not the final cardstock. Again, I'm a big fan of these narrative stories. I feel like she did a good job of maintaining the structure of the Rider-Waite-Smith for the most part. Again, there's a couple I think you'd have to think about. But that tie-in is there so that you can root yourself in that if you either already know or you're a beginner and you want to have those key tie-ins, they're there. But also then the story is so strongly there, which I think enhances it, because you really see the separation, the progression between the numbers, and even in the majors, that journey aspect is very strongly highlighted. And so when you get cards that are of equal, when you get cards that are of, you know, like sequences that show up in a reading, those are really going to stand out. You can also see that the water really pops out. I'm sorry, I'm just laying my, not in order, very poorly, because I was thinking about this while I was laying, but just so that you can see it laid out, with maybe some more room. The neutral bottom part, and I didn't mention this, but you can see on the bottom it has like the wand and the sword and the cup. So even if for you the elements kind of throw you off a little bit, you've got the nod to the wand or the cup or the pentacle, or the sword right there to remind you what that is. So that is fantastic as well. So there you have it. I hope you've enjoyed this look. Again, I am not a big unicorn fan, but I definitely feel like you've definitely seen some the fire unicorns. Maybe there's a name for those. The fire unicorns are very powerful. The water unicorns are gorgeous and powerful. The the earth ones, I'm sorry, the earth ones are just like that. The earth ones are just cute as all can be. I really like the water, suit of water. Let me find a good one of, that's my favorite image, although I really like the 9 of air as well. I love this image as well. Sorry, I'm trying to find, what I was going to say is that the different types of unicorns that Mystic meets are all very powerful. When you're seeing these creatures in their own element, you can see the kind of the power of the unicorn, right? And the Pegasus, the different types. And these are powerful. You see them pulling like big cards, but they are awfully cute. That's absolutely one of my favorites too. They're awfully, these little guys are awfully chunky and cute. Look at what's pulling. So it's got like that strength and that sort of one foot in front of the other of the pentacles. So I'm not doing any meanness or disservice to them, but my point is you see these powerful water unicorns, fire unicorns, air unicorns, Pegasus combos, and so you really get that powerfulness of the unicorn energy, as well as the sweetness of the early beginning story of this little unicorn who doesn't have a horn. And I do like that by the end of the major arcana, the Mystic has their horn, and so then it's like going out and meeting the world and working through life and finding other things. But these may have to be, I like the fire ones a lot. Those really kind of like, woof. And I like the water ones a lot. But these are freaking adorable, and yet can pull a whole cart of stones. So I don't know. They may have to be my favorite because they're so cute and chunky. They're like pony. I love the water ones. So again, sweet, yes. Does it awaken inner child? Yes. Does it awaken story time and storytelling? Yes. And these are all really positive things, in my opinion. Um, to step into the world of wonder again, to step in the world of magic again, to step into the world of what it means to be on a journey and trying to figure out who you are and how you relate with the rest of the world, is such a powerful component, and not to be in any way set aside as, oh, that's like sweet. Sweet does not mean not powerful. And that is a lesson. We can be kind and sympathetic and sweet, and we can touch into story and touch into magic and touch into belief, both of ourselves and in the magic in the world. We can do all those things and only be the more powerful for it, which I think is an amazing thing. So there you have it. I adore these, even though I powerful adore these. I really like this card too. Again, artist did an amazing job at this as well. So hope that you enjoyed this look at I was going to say, I'm sorry, Lisa. I was going to say, I hope you enjoyed this look at the last unicorn. No, I hope you enjoyed this look at the Unicorn's Journey Tarot. I really think that Lisa pulled that journey all the way through. And I think it only enhances the way in which the cards, your understanding of the cards, as well as the way in which the numbers can flow forward. I always recommend like the Enchanted Forest tarot, because it does a good job of the story movement through the numbers. This is definitely one that, not again that I only recommend it for beginners, but it's a good one because of that. And I think this does the same thing. I would recommend this for pulling that, like the numbers don't just, they're in sequence, right? They have a sequential nature. They follow each other. One comes before and one comes after, and that is shown in the narrative, and I think that makes it easier for people to see the cards flow like that. So great job. I hope you enjoyed this, and I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day or night.